Perfect.
By all means, keep eating. I know some of the people in the cheap seats in the back just got served. We're going to ask the college to not clear plates right now, but they may come through if you need additional water. Make sure you flag somebody down and tell them you need some more water as well, too. Before we get started, I want to call Mayor Brubaker up here for a real quick announcement.
With our police department here, saying someone got served might not be the most appropriate, but if Miss Lily Parker would come up and join me. Lily is she's an Elyria High School student, a senior this year. Come on up here. She don't have to say anything. I told her she just has to stand and look pretty. It's a tradition for the city of Elyria to give the key to the city to an organization, a business, what have you. And I learned this many years ago, and Mayor Brenda, who is here today, was one of the ones that I picked up on this for. But with this being the first ever joint State of the City, State of the Schools event, and the fact that here recently the Elyria City Schools completed the construction project of the 5 new schools here in the city of Elyria, and I was honored to be a part of the school board when the levy was passed and we started the construction of that. But we wanted to do this at the beginning because we know when we get towards the end, people tend to disembark the ship, if you will. But it's my honor and privilege. I have a proclamation here, too, that I won't read due to time. But it's my honor and privilege to introduce Ann Schloss, the Superintendent of Elyria City School District, and present to her the 2024 Key to the City, to the Elyria City School District for exceptional educational leadership and service to the community of Elyria. So, Ms. Ann.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lily. That's the best way to get it. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. You get a hug too, buddy. Can I give this stuff?
You want to say a few words, Ann?
Sure. Anyone that knows me knows I love to talk. Well, I can't think of a better way to start, but even better is getting presented that key from Kevin, who is such a supporter of the schools, but also Lily, who's just an example of the kind of student that goes to Elyria City Schools. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope you enjoy the show.
All right, so obviously this is a new, I guess, playbook to start things this year. For so many years, this is my 21st year at the Lorain County Chamber, so usually it's I know exactly what I'm doing at any given moment and how it's going to go. This is new to me too, so I'm acting as the moderator today, and I'm going to pose a couple of questions. The first set of questions are going to be for both the city as well as for the schools. So we're going to take turns, I guess, answering those questions, okay? So we'll start with the mayor on this first one to kick it off. Finances seem to be the buzzword on all news programs these days. Obviously, we know there has been inflation, and all of our households are figuring out how to make ends meet. Can we start with the city and then the schools to have you talk about what each of your finances look like currently and into the near future?
Great. Thank you. Are we on here? If this goes south, it was her idea to do it this way.
Well, but I got the text this morning saying you were going to carry me through, so I felt better.
If you don't know, there'll be a lot of banner here today. And if you don't know, this sitting stuff is not my forte. I like to walk, and I've been told that they're going to put a seatbelt here if I don't. But the revenue in the city of Elyria in January and February was a little bit higher than it was in January or February of 23. As we got into March of 24, we kind of seen it get flat. It's not increased, it's not went down. Financially, the city is in a very good situation right now. We have about $14 million in our general fund. Now, when someone hears that, they think, well, you guys are pretty flush with dollars. And when you look at the ARPA money that the city got, and the fact that the city and city council was very smart in infusing the ARPA money into our general operating expenses, particularly with our police and fire department. $14 million will not last long when you consider the future expenses As we go into 25, 26, and 27, they're going to have to come out of that general fund budget of $14 million. We have about 45 combined police and fire personnel that are currently being paid out of ARPA, and that was by design of City Council and the Finance Director's office to help with our general fund budget. But those 45 individuals, come 25, are going to have to come out of the general fund. They're going to have to go back. All of our ARPA dollars have been appropriated in one capacity or another, so at the end of this year, there's no ARPA dollars available. So they'll have to go into the general fund. And part of the reason why we did it that way, and I was the safety director when they started that, and then council carried that on, as well as Mayor Whitfield, was so that we could build up that general fund account. So when we knew the ARPA money was gone, we would still be able to obviously keep our police and fire. So that's 45 people is roughly about $5 million to the general fund. So if you take a look at it from that standpoint, we're 2.5, 3 years away from that $14 million being kind of eaten away. So if my administration and our city employees are doing our jobs on the economic development side over the next couple of years, we hopefully are going to be able to balance that out, and you'll hear some of those things here shortly. But we are in a good position. I know the school district and Anna probably talk about this, just passed issue 21 and 22, so they're sitting pretty good on tax levies. As far as the city of Elyria is concerned, our issue $6, the 2016 temporary, we are good on that through June of 26. So we'll probably be looking, as I talked to Mr. Farrell, Mr. Pileski in the Finance Director's office, this is killing me, by the way, having to turn all the way around. We'll have to start looking at getting that levy on the ballot. But last year, in 23, the city passed that 35 or 40-year temporary tax that's been on the books. We are good on that through June of 29. And I can tell you from my administration, we are not looking to increase taxes in the future. We just want to be able to carry what we currently have. But again, if we're doing our job on the financial side, we're sitting good on paper, but we do have some significant expenses that we have to be very cognitive of as we go into 25, 26, and 27.
All right. So as Mayor Brubaker mentioned, 21 and 22, I have to start by saying thank you. You know, we get all this data from the state on school levies, and typically renewals pass at a rate of 95% in the state of Ohio. This year it was 70%. But not in Elyria. We passed at one of the highest rates, both, and they're continuing in 10-year, which we've not done in a very long time. So thank you to Elyria. We couldn't do it without you. That was $20 million worth of operating money. So it would have devastated the district. So I wanted to start by saying that. Knowing that, we also had the, we called it ESSER money, the ARPA money. We had $34 million given to us from the state, mainly because we were doing so many things for families. We used, our treasurer, our old treasurer used to call it somewhat of a gift. I never looked at the pandemic as a gift, but the money came at the right time, because right before the pandemic, we were looking at having to go out for new operating money. We were not in a good place financially with costs rising. But because of the $34 million, we were able to put, one of the allowable uses was to put new staff to have that continuum of operating. So we had 41 staff members in that money, and we were able to use the money for any of the HVAC allowable uses in the new building. So we were able to finish the project. So couldn't have done it without it. Which is kind of a weird feeling, but we too are having the staff that was in the ESSER ends at the end of September 30th of 24, it's done. All of that money, and those staff members go back into the general fund, which we accounted for. We're good through the next 5 years, but we start deficit spending next year. Most schools live in deficit spending, but that means we need to make some cuts, and it may mean we need to come to the community. We have not asked for new operating money in the Elyria City Schools since 2010. Now that is unheard of. It's a 3 to 5 year cycle, typically, in the state of Ohio. So we've gone 14 years without asking for new money. So we may be knocking on your door in a year or two, but we've had 20 plus years of clean audits, and we do a great job in the Elyria City Schools of watching the financial status. So.
Okay, collaboration is another great buzzword. The county is in the process of going through a strategic plan. Collaboration has been a buzzword that they have used at every single meeting. The chamber just had our board meeting this morning in one of the other rooms here at the college, and collaboration is another word that has come up several times. Can you talk about any projects or partnerships that the city and the schools are currently working on?
Sure. I'll be glad to start. Well, we just finished our master plan. I don't know who builds 5 schools. $178 million worth of building during a pandemic, but we did it, and we finished pretty much on time. And that's a tribute to our board and our staff and the community. It was so supported. We have new developments going on, some in the township. I'm sad to see the Peaches go, but Nagy's land is being developed, and new houses, I believe, somewhere between 70 and 100 homes. The state will tell us we can count a quarter of a child in each home. I don't quite know how that happens, but that's what they give us, a quarter child per home. So we also have building going out on Fowl Road, and we had a developer just buy Windsor and Prospect property, and we're in the works of looking at the old Elyria West admin property. So those projects are underway. I don't know if you want to cut to projects, and then we can talk about strategic plan, Mayor, or?
I had it as projects partnerships.
Okay.
So.
All right, I'll finish then a little bit on our strategic plan. We just spent last year with Burgess & Burgess working on our strategic plan, which we had stakeholders from the community, we had students, staff, and parents, and it was a great experience. We were able to come up with our 4 objectives, which, so I don't get them confused, but raising expectations for all, supporting students and families. One piece of data I'd like to put out there: during the pandemic, we were serving 55,000 meals a week to students and their families' homes, and that was all done by staff. So that shows you the care that our staff has at the Elyria City Schools, because no matter what, we're going to support our families. So that had to be one of our goals. Also, ensuring adequate resources, which is what we're talking about, and engaging the community. We lost a little bit of that from 20 to 23. Volunteers coming in and getting the community to be a part of what we do day in and day out. And we want to bring those Elyria traditions back and get focused again on being able to support the students and the families with the community. I'd be remiss if I didn't, for partnerships, mention LCC, Dr. Ballinger and Tracy Green and Cindy Kushner over there. I cannot tell you what their partnership with us means to not only the staff but the families, through College Credit Plus, the early college program, Pioneer Connections, all of the work that goes into Flex Factor, Next Gen, and working with the companies that need the workforce within Lorain County, and our students are that next workforce. So their partnership with us is unmatched, and we're very fortunate to be in Lorain County, because I know some of my colleagues outside Lorain County don't have the same experience. So Marcia and Tracy and Cindy, thank you, because that partnership is wonderful. One other really quick partnership, I have to, Franco Gallo, I'm not sure where he's sitting, in the back, superintendent of the ESC, the Educational Service Center. They, with the Business Advisory Council, which a lot of you might be part of, we've really focused on workforce. And they take students on trips and apprenticeships to the clinic, to some of the manufacturing, Emerson and AJ Rose, and some of the companies in the area in Lorain County. And I think there's no better way to show our students what's out there. You know, when I went to school, your options were 4 years of college, or 2 years of college. You know, we still would love to see our students further their education, but that doesn't always mean 4 years of college. There's a lot of endorsements, certificates, and technical licensure that they can get right out here at LCC, and you know, the companies out there that are showing them what their workers are doing and where they were trained. It's a wonderful experience. So thank you, Franco, for facilitating that.
You good?
Good.
Since she alluded to LC3, I will start off our partnerships as well with LC3 and Dr. Ballinger and Tracy Green in regards to a program that Mayor Whitfield actually started last year in regards to the Skill Up program, where we're able to send students here to the college and learn the skills so that we can put them out in the workforce. So we were able to continue that in 2024. And we announced this a few weeks ago, but we have a very strong collaboration with the college, and I know I've talked to Commissioner Moore about bringing the county into this, but the city is looking potentially to build a fire station in the southeast quadrant of the city, but one of the things we're working with the college on is potentially to build a fire academy. We have a police academy right here on campus, but we don't have a fire academy here in the county, let alone in the city. So I'm grateful that we're able to partner with the college to have those discussions to look at a future of a fire academy right here in the city of Elyria, so that our local fire departments, including our own, has a closer place to send cadets to learn the science of firefighting. So we're thankful to the college for that. Elyria City Schools, one of the big projects that we collaborate them on with School Resource Officer and Officer Figula is here today, has done a phenomenal job with the school district and keeping our students safe. So we're very fortunate to be able to work with the school district on that. Just after I took office, I reached out to Dawn Calvert, who also worked for Mayor Whitfield, and I asked her if she would continue to stay on as an Assistant Safety Service Director and work with me on economic development, because my forte is, quite honestly, was not economic development. It was, you know, Mayor Brenda, Mayor Whitfield, Mayor Grace had me doing other projects and learning processes, but economic development was not in my wheelhouse. And she agreed to do that, so I asked her in early December to start reaching out to our business partners here in the community. And to date, we have met with, face-to-face, 42 of our major business partners in the community, including several small businesses. And what we've been able to uncover is about $100 million worth of future expansion and growth within the city. And I do want to run through a couple of them. One of the big ones, when we talk about collaborating partner, is with the commissioners. Specifically, Commissioner Moore has kept me involved with the Port Authority in regards to the Midway Mall project, and we're all very interested to hear what comes out of that. I'm hopeful. I mean, I have my idea what I'd like to see, but I'm hopeful that the Port Authority will be making a decision too here very soon, because that's a big part of the growth here in the city. And one of the proponents of this project is projecting 800 to 1,000 jobs and about $2 million in income tax revenue to the city. And that organization has always, in everything they've done, overachieved based on their projections. So we're very fortunate to have a partnership with the county and the Port Authority in the Midway Mall project. McGregor Pace, you've read about them. They're the organization that's building, they've already started to remove trees over behind Lowe's. The first phase of that is a senior center. It's about a $9 million project, 40 to 50 jobs coming to the city. The second phase of that is about $22 million senior housing complex. That's about 70 units for 55 and older. That's going to go on the same property over there behind Lowe's. We have a new hotel. I can officially announce this because I know they've reached out to the school district on the abatement. So the gentleman who owns the Marriott at Courtyard, who I worked with during the building process under Mayor Brenda, and the same guy owns the Hampton, who I worked with under Mayor Grace, is going to build another hotel. I think it's 96 units right in between the two that are there. That's about a $9.5 million project, and we expect the groundbreaking on that sometime in the fourth quarter of this year. The project that started last year and is carry over on Foster, where the old Jefferson Junior High used to be, that'll be coming down here probably late summer. We have the Foster Lofts, which is, again, another 55 and older community that's going to go in there. That's about $28 million of investment that's coming to the city. Again, another partnership with the Lorain County Land Bank, the Lorain County Commissioners, and the Lorain County Port Authority. We're able to work with one of our largest employers in the city, Elyria Foundry. If you've ever drove up Bullocks Parkway, you see off to the left or the right, there's a very large building there that's dilapidated. We're working with them to provide the resources and the funding to demolish that building and another building on the property for future growth, and another building to be added at the Elyria Foundry. That's about $400,000. Good Knights of Lorain County, they're the ones who build the beds for children. The city, the Community Investment Corp, City Council has agreed to, there's some property over on Leona that we took ownership of a number of years ago. We're in the process of transferring that. They're going to be able to build a 10,000 square foot facility, about $750,000. That's going to allow them to bring that, what they do for children in Lorain County, right here into Elyria over on Leona Street. One of our local companies, he's local born, played baseball over at Little League East. If you know me, that's kind of where I spend a lot of my time. He has about 7 businesses, small businesses here in the community, and he's putting about $750,000 into his project that's going to bring 10 to 20 jobs to the community over on Taylor Street. We're working with, I won't announce the organization just yet, but we're working with the Energy Renewal Company that's looking to bring a $20 million project right here in the city of Elyria. Mr. Gallo announced the $800,000 that was invested over on Lowell Street with Beacon Building Products. They're a national company, international company. They have about 500 of their outlets in the United States and another 100 in Canada. So they've invested heavily in Elyria. And finally, as far as our projects and partnerships, we have about 400 plus homes between Mr. Yost, K-Hove, and Ryan Homes that are in the process or will be built over the next 12 to 18 months. What that means to Elyria, those are mostly single-family homes that are coming here, which is going to bring hopefully young families, working young families, students to the Elyria City School District, and ultimately, hopefully, tax base to our city. So we have a lot of things that are coming up and are happening here in the city of Elyria that I'm extremely excited about. I'm extremely proud of our staff. Ms. Calvert has spent a significant time with me over the first 4 months, sometimes to her chagrin, because I'm not a very patient individual. So, but we look forward to these future projects.
Mayor, repeat how many new homes?
Roughly about 400.
400 new homes. That's awesome for Elyria. And emerging workforce. We've been talking about this at probably every meeting that we have with the Workforce Development Board. Mike Longo's here, OMJ. Our board members are here, Lisa Hudson, as well as Rob Duncan might be out there somewhere. I know our county commissioners are involved. I think, you know, our focus is so zeroed in on what those students, getting them here to stay, make sure that they have a job to get, make sure that they can make good money, buy a house, raise a family here, and kind of continue that cycle. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Safety in today's world is vital. We've all just experienced one of the most exciting events in the past few decades, the solar eclipse. The Chamber, along with Joe Pernesti at the fire department and our EMA director, had a whole meeting about it just to keep everybody safe. Now, most people said, you know, oh, well, it was a letdown. At the end of it, I look at it like we did what we were supposed to do. We made sure everybody kept safe, and that's the most important part. City services, safety services have all worked together to make sure we do what is right. How do we keep this safety culture prominent in the city and with the schools?
Well, this is where our partnership with the city is probably most predominant. As Kevin mentioned, Joe Figula is at the high school every day. Couldn't ask for a better SRO at the high school. He went there. He knows the families. It's kind of funny. Some of the kids say, we know the policeman that drives around in the PD mobile, and that's what we had his car wrapped, and it's nice because that's a friendly relationship with our first responders, and that's what we want in our community. But we also have other officers that help at the Northwood and Eastern Heights campus. I mean, those are very large buildings. Eastern Heights campus, where I went, is 148,000 square feet. That's a pretty big building. It's about half the size of Elyria High School. And we also have the sheriff deputy out at the West Campus and work with the sheriff's department very well. But we couldn't ask for a better team whenever we've had some lockdowns and things happen. We all get together, we debrief with the fire department and Chief Pronesti and Chief Pelko from the police department, and we sit down and we make it a conversation on how do we do better, how do we get better, and how do we protect our students and staff. So I couldn't ask for a better partnership there. Also, one of the things we've worked on most over the last 5 years has been what they call SEL, social emotional learning. The mental health issues within our families and the crisis within our families is so prevalent. And we have made the commitment that we needed to provide these services on campus. Our families don't have the means to get elsewhere. So every one of our buildings has a school counselor, a social worker, a nurse, and a health aide. Not to mention, we added administration and teachers and paraprofessionals. So we have that commitment to serve our families in whatever capacity they need. And it really has meant the world to the families. We just partnered with Donna Rivera. I don't know if Donna's here. We have an assessment center on our West Campus, so that when families have crisis or have issues, they can go right down the hall. They don't have to go over to the police station or the county building. So we're always looking for ways to help our families, and the partnership again with the county, the city, I couldn't be more proud. Couple things that we're doing within the district. We have 3 social workers, 2 social workers and what we call a BRIC, a behavior response coordinator, which we have at each grade band. They created a program called EVADE, and they've been presenting it all over the county and state. It stands for Elyria Vape, Alcohol, and Drug Education. Now, back when we were all in school, it was smoking in the alley at Elyria High or whatever, right? It was cigarettes. Well, now it's vaping. And it's not as easy to catch vaping because it often doesn't have a smell, but it is so harmful for our students. So we have 3 very well-trained social workers and coordinators that created this program. It's based on modules from Stanford University, and I'm very proud of the work they're doing. We've seen, I think they've had upwards of 50 plus students go through the program, and there's a first layer and a second layer in case they come back for a second round, but we've had some success, and that's what it's all about. Want to shout out to Ely, Hamilton, and Eastern Heights Elementary. They won state awards on PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention Strategies. We're models for the state and the county, and doing just great work to help our students become successful citizens. So that's safety. Thanks for the partnership, because we couldn't do it without the city.
You're welcome. So I cut my teeth when I started working with the city in the safety, city services side of things, and this has always been very close to my heart, mostly because one of the dispatchers that's here tonight would call me multiple times at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for something, and I always was able to respond. But police and fire have been very important because I worked with them so closely, and I was fortunate under Director Sawerka to have that ability to be able to respond and work with our police and fire. Now, the police department has had a large turnover in a good way for officers, but recruiting has always been a struggle for the Elyria Police Department. Sergeant Mahoney is the officer that works directly with the recruiting, but also with one of our civilian employees, Dana Linden, who works in our HR department but works very out of the police department. And the recruiting that they've done has been second to none. And when you can increase your police officers based on the recruiting, and then you throw in the very important piece of the pie that City Council did in December when they increased our police department and our officers' pay, That has made a significant, along with the recruiting side, a significant difference in our recruiting. We're currently working with 5 laterals, which those are officers in other departments, to bring them on board. But most importantly, on the recruiting side, we're at about 62, give or take, on the new entry level test, which is 62 people that are looking to get into the police force. And we've not had that many to take the test in many years. What that's going to allow us to do is actually be very, look at those officers and be very selective on who we bring on board. It's no longer just, hey, we got to fill cruisers. We got to put people out there. Let's take a chance on this one. It's now about recruiting the right people. If you've been around me in any significant amount of time, you know I have a philosophy that's not just about having the right people on the bus, but it's about having the right people in the right seats on the bus. And this recruiting that's been going on is going to allow us to do that. Right now we have 82 officers, 72 actually working. We have 2 that are in the academy. We have 8 that are on some type of FMLA or something along those lines. But we have 72 working the road. The goal, and I believe we will hit this, is somewhere by the end of the year, before the end of the year, we'll hit the goal of 90, which is what we are appropriated for. And with the hard work of them, along with the leadership of the captains and Chief Pelko, I believe we're going to hit that. Fire staffing, we are at the max. We are staffed appropriately for what we do currently. We're at about 72 firefighters. I know we're getting ready to lose one, which puts us right at that 71 number. But we have a new ladder truck on order. It's about $1.4 million. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that until we're lucky, maybe the fall of 25. That was ordered a couple years ago. We also just recently ordered a new engine, a pumper. If we're lucky, we might see that sometime in the next century, the way things are going, roughly 2027. And I already talked about the fire station. Because the city is exploding on the outer perimeter of the city, we need to really look at establishing where is the best fit for these stations, and under the direction of Director Pronowski, at looking at that, and our projects guy, Assistant Director Strozak, we're looking at and coordinating where does that station look like, and how do we appropriate the right number of engines, the right spacing in the city of Elyria so that they can respond appropriately. When we talk about city services, this is something that I think 5 of you already asked me about this morning, is the projects on Gulf Road, Broad Street, and yeah, see, there we go. So there's nobody had tomatoes today, so I made sure they checked at the door. But Gulf Road, that expected to be completed. Basically, Poplar to Harwood to Dilworth, all the way up Gulf, and all the way down to the railroad trestle on East Bridge is expected to be completely done, paved, and ready to go before school starts in the fall. That's the projection.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So we're looking forward to that, and then there'll be a break of that project until 2026. And the next phase of that, they'll bore underneath the railroad tracks and move towards Park Avenue. The other 2 big ones is Cleveland Street and Broad Street. Those are expected to be done at about the same time. The engineer told me November 1st. I'm going to be safe and say the end of November because anything can happen, and I don't want anybody to come back. We said at the State of the City they'll be done on November 1st, and it's November 2nd. We'll get it done, but I have that commitment from engineering that those couple projects will be done. I talked about the fire station. The other part is city infrastructure. Our roads, City Council will be discussing tomorrow on the next road paving projects to start resurfacing. We have buildings that we are putting in the city. We're putting significant dollars into City Hall, our police department, our fire departments. So we're looking at making some investment there. And then the biggest one, quite frankly, for city services is we've got to get better at sewer and infrastructure. We have a lot, and I'll talk about this on what's next, but we have a lot of projects going on in the city in areas that we could develop more. We just don't have the sewer capacity. We need to start those studies and making sure that we can reach out to a Congressman Latta and say, hey, can you go and get us some earmarks like he's already done twice, so that we can expand on either housing or on commercial development. So again, things are looking up, but we have a lot of work to do.
It's good to hear about those roads getting done at some point.
Yes.
As somebody who's at the college at least 6 times a week, getting from downtown Elyria to here is difficult at best sometimes. So glad to hear that's going to be moving forward. Every community has its own history, its own culture, its own way to do things. Elyria celebrated their bicentennial in 2017. The county's celebrating theirs currently right now. We know that there's a lot of history here. What does the future look like for community living and changes we might expect for the city and the schools as we look forward.
Please do.
Well, when I think of community living, I wanted to think about it within the walls of the school district. So I think about what goes on there that is just phenomenal. And you know, this is my 32nd year in the Elyria City Schools working, but I always tell everyone I've been there since I was 5. So I will tell you that my first job was at Jefferson, and now I'm old enough to live there in the 55 and older, so.
I might have one next door to you.
Thank you. But anyway, boy, this is an area that just makes me beam, because those of you that know Elyria City Schools and know what we represent, and over the last 5 years, it's been difficult because we couldn't do a lot of the things that we normally do. So I'm talking about the Fine Arts program, and I mentioned that first because I know Lily's over there, and she's going to be Ariel, did I say that right? In the Little Mermaid? I don't have kids, so I don't watch Disney movies, but she says she's going to be Ariel in Little Mermaid, and that's not this weekend, it's next weekend. And there's 3 shows, and you need to go at the PAC. But I will say there is no other fine arts program like Elyria City Schools provides. Between the instrumental music, which we just added 5th grade back to the instrumental music. We had taken it away during COVID, and bolstering the programs up again. We lost a lot of our kiddos, you know, that weren't coming to school because they were learning from home. Our vocal music program, and then our band and our orchestra. It's phenomenal. Then you have to think about the visual arts and the things. I know right now, we have till the end of April, over at the ESC, Elyria is the art show. The talent that our students have and our staff is just unmatched. And then you go to the clubs. I have to give a shout out to Amanda Belcher over there, who is one of our advisors for Link Crew. It's one of the most successful clubs up at the high school. It's a mentorship program for our freshmen. And the neat thing is these students are there all year and beyond for those students that are coming to Elyria High. Elyria High is a big place. It's like, we call it the mothership. It's 2,000 students, and then you throw in the staff of 200. It's like its own little village up there. So that program is so successful and does help, and we brought it down to, it's called Where Everybody Belongs Web at the middle school. But we have over 200 clubs and organizations that our students can be a part of. And then you move into athletics, and we talk about Elyria tradition. That's something that's been kind of a goal. I remember my interview, and I remember Greg Ellick looking at me and saying, it might have been you, Gebhardt, too. We want to be in the SWC. So we're in the SWC now, and we're competing against schools that are close. We're not going way out to Mentor and Solon anymore, and it's been phenomenal. But I will tell you that we've struggled with our athletic programs, and that is something we're building on. I don't know, it was on the board agenda and board minutes, but we created a new position called the Director of Sports Performance that is going to be zeroing in, it's a full-time administrative job, zeroing in on the nutrition, mental health, and physical health, strength and conditioning of our students. And that's something, a lot of T3s out there, and we brought them in a little bit, and they've been wonderful, but we need someone who is Elyria and works in Elyria and knows the kids. So we hired someone who is a beloved teacher at the high school, and he's done this. He was the strength and conditioning person out in Columbia, who has a very successful program, athletic program out there. So we're looking forward to that. He's already working. There's going to be some connections with the city on some of our hashtags. So we want to make it a community event that everybody on Friday night, it's Friday Night Lights. We're all out at the stadium, right? We're filling the big house. Our basketball team had a wonderful year this year, and they're young. We only graduated 1 senior. And we have some really successful players coming up. And then the wrestling, the volleyball, all of that. What I know about our students, when they're engaged in extracurriculars, co-curriculars, clubs, they're successful in the classroom. They come to school, and that's important. So we want to start getting the community more involved, get some of those old Elyria traditions back, and do what we need to. Our robotics team is ranked in the world. We have partnerships with Nordson and Nord and Stocker on all the STEAM, and we couldn't do it without these foundations and the companies Emerson and Bendix and Elyria Manufacturing that actually come out and help our students with all of that. Someone once asked me, why would I send my child to Elyria City Schools? And I think they were regretting asking me that question. It was like a 3-hour conversation because I could just go on, but I won't. But I will tell you, you will not get a better education and a better experience in the Elyria City Schools. So.
And we're both graduates.
Yeah.
But please tell me, you just did not refer to our stadium as the Big House.
Big house.
We're not Michigan. Just saying. I want you to get out of here alive, Ann.
What should I call it? Horseshoe?
Not the Big House.
It's our big house.
How about just Mercy Stadium?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Sorry about that.
When you talk about community living and culture, I knew coming in that was a big issue within the city and within the city employees. Our employees were worried about the financial state of the city, and again, I can't reiterate this enough. You know, we're not in the best position. We're in a good position, but we're not in the best position. We had to, as an administration, make sure our employees understood that everything we're going to be working on is to protect jobs, make sure we're police and fire strong, make sure our programming is there, make sure we have employees to handle that program and to take care of the city's services. So culture was a big part of it. And I can't give enough kudos to my administrative staff for the work that they've done when it comes to that. You know, one of the individuals, Jay Lesh, he became the new Kevin. So Jay is the one that gets lucky to be called out and have to go and do some of the things, all the things that I used to do. But from a culture standpoint and a community living, that's important to me to have somebody that was in the police department that understands the community, is learning from me on how I handled some things within the city, and he has a good engagement process with our residents, which is going to help the culture in our city, but it's also going to help the community living side because we're still dealing with the property maintenance issues that started when Mayor Brenda took office. Quite frankly, she inherited that, and we got to a point where we had it pretty well going in the right direction. We need to get back to that. So when we talk about culture, you know, I got Annie Karstoffen as my executive assistant. I got Megan Pugh is Director Panowski's executive assistant. We got Whitney Trimble that is one of our administrative assistants. And then you throw Dawn Calvert, Jay Lesh, Joe Strozak, and Director Panowski into the mix. They took the bull by the horns, and they all have a positive outlook on things, and they've worked very well with our employees. And I will tell you, Director Panowski is, I can't say a former Marine because he keeps telling me he's always a Marine, but he has that mentality, and he's able to work with our department heads and our unions to make sure that we're getting the best results when there's an issue that arises. But without them showing the employees in the community that our doors are open, we are there every day. We have people within our office to take the phone calls, and I talk to residents. Now, there's a running joke when we talk about culture, because I have to be involved in everything, but evidently I'm not allowed to be. So they tell me all the time, nope, you don't need to deal with that. It doesn't rise to your level. Okay, what does? One day I was sitting in my office, I'm looking out the window, and one of them came in and said, everything all right, Mayor? No, I'm good. Well, what are you doing? I said, I'm looking out the window. Why? Because evidently this is the only thing I'm allowed to do. It doesn't rise to my level. I actually got to go out on Friday night. I'm getting off task here, but I got to go out Friday night because there was a car into a house, and you know, Jay being new, he was ready to bring an excavator in and tear the whole block down. And I said, slow down, grasshopper, let me come out and take a look at it. But culture is a huge part of things. So one of the things that my staff gets a little leery of when they get a text message from me at night and say, I have an idea. And Carrie Reardon, Director Reardon will tell you this. I have an idea. Oh, here we go. So I had an idea one night to do a snowman contest, and it just took off. Then we built on that, and we had an egg coloring contest. It took off. That builds community, and that builds culture within our city. And the amount of people that just gravitated that, and we'll have other types of those things as we move on. And the business community jumped right in. Again, community living culture. They jumped right in to donate, including city employees, donating prizes. So these young people knew that their work, and we didn't just do 2 or 3, we did 7, 8, 9, 10 winners, if you will. So the culture is a big part of it. I asked Director Reardon when I got in office, I said, I want more activities downtown Elyria. I want more activities in the square. If we're going to redevelop downtown, we got to have people that want to come downtown. So I asked her, let's start on top of when we have a great partnership with Elyria Community Partnership, and they have the third Thursdays, and they do some other events. But I told her I want to build on that. So in June, we're going to have 2. In July, we're going to have 1. In August, we're going to have 1. On a Saturday, we're going to have concerts in the square. In the evening time, we'll have a couple food trucks come downtown and bring people into the downtown area, because that's still one of our greatest assets. I'd like to take something to the East Falls once we have community groups that are working on that. But bringing people together, the culture side of things, that's all about community living and bringing people and getting them engaged. We have the annual Memorial Day Parade. We have the fireworks. We have Juneteenth holiday. We have the Garford Art Fest is coming back on August 10th. And I know Andrea's here somewhere. She's probably excited to hear me say that. So we're bringing things into downtown, and that's all about community living and culture. People in this city need to understand there are some really good things going on, and we want everybody to be involved with that. And if we can draw that attention to downtown, we'll get more interest in the downtown. And the last part about the community and the culture is, you probably read in the paper, we have a young lady that's going to be housed at City Hall as a pop-up business. It's Creations by Kianga. And she's going to have her little business in there, and the hope is to get her to take a spot in downtown Elyria once she gets this up and running. And I'd probably get in trouble for saying it, but I'm going to give kudos to WOBL and Mr. Gary Tollett, who reached out to me in Kianga, and they're going to do a spot on them, and they're going to give them 62 commercials between now and when she starts on April 29th, at no cost to her. And every person that goes into that slot after that, he's going to do the same thing for them. So we can't thank WOBL and the community enough for what they've done in bringing that culture and excitement back to Elyria and specifically downtown.
You know, Kevin, you mentioned the Parks and Rec and Carrie Reardon. You know, growing up in Elyria, there were so many activities in the summer. I grew up in Little Miss softball and all the little things down at Little League East. Over
north.
There with you. That might be where I first met
North,
you, Kevin.
yeah.
Oh, you were north? No, east was better. But we
When I started coaching there, they got better.
okay, I'll give you that. But that's kind of gone by the wayside over the years, and our students need something to do in the summer. And the Parks and Rec programs are essential. We need that programming, that partnership with that. So when you mention that, that is something that is near and dear to my heart, but I know our students need that.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up real quick. We wanted to leave a little bit of time for some questions, but Ann, if you can answer in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
You've got a room full of people here, 250 people. How can the community help or be more involved in the schools? If you can give them just a quick
I'll give you 2 things. First of all,
You have 2 minutes.
Volunteer. We haven't had volunteers in the buildings for a while because of COVID, and now Open Arms, we even pay for the fingerprinting. We decided to pay for that and use grant money to put into that. The next thing would be to come see the events. See how wonderful these students are and the talent we have, and support from the community side.
And the events are on their Facebook page,
Yep.
on the website, all that's kept up to date, and that's where they can find out what's
Absolutely,
going on.
absolutely.
Okay, Mayor, one last question, parting question for you. You've been mayor for 4 months now. What is something you learned since you've been mayor?
Nothing rises to my level. I guess that's how I would answer that. I guess in 4 months that everything is not as easy as I thought it was when I was in a different seat in a lot of different ways. I'm still learning. Everybody assumes because I worked under Mayor Grace, under Mayor Brenda, Mayor Whitfield, and then for a year under Mayor Zilka that this would just be like a river and flowing. And That's not always the case. I mean, there's been a few bumps along the way, but with a great staff, with great leadership in our departments, it's getting easier, but I'm still learning what being mayor is. I'm still getting used to walking down the street and someone says, hey, mayor. Oh, talking about me. That's been a rough part to get used to that. But I would say just getting into the feel of this role.
Two people who didn't think they were going to be able to, answer questions very good. I don't know. Julie, don't ever get them on the stage at a leadership-oriented county event. We'll be here for half the night like
Now,
me.
Tony,
I know. That's why I said it.
Julie, I was shorter than Tony,
Yes,
wasn't I?
You were. All right, so we do have a few minutes for some questions. If anybody has something real specific for either the mayor or the superintendent, kind of stand up or anyone? Come on, all of that? Did we cover it? Go ahead, Kurt.
To the superintendent, who do we contact at schools if we are interested in volunteering, either as an individual or as an organization?
Who do we contact at the schools if they want to volunteer?
So there is two ways. Ask at elyriaschools.org is an email that goes directly to the communications department, or call the 284-8000 and ask for the communications department, and Adrian Scheitauer can direct you to wherever. She'll ask questions on your interests.
Any other questions? Way in the back? Ed?
Yeah, so Tony, earlier you touched on Edinburgh Board and Elyria Board Hospital. A lot of us can say the same thing.
Yeah.
Mayor Brubaker, are there any efforts underway to talk to UH, bring that back to Elyria?
It's a great question. So the question was about UH and bringing them back. Director Culver and I have met with their executive leadership once, and we are on the calendar. She disappeared on me. We're on the calendar again in the next couple weeks to go over and have lunch with them. I can tell you that they've put several $1 million in investments interior to the hospital, and they are looking to grow the hospital and bring services back to the hospital. I know they have a collaboration here with the college on nursing students. So they are a big partner of ours. And I will hopefully have some more updates on some of their expansion and growth after our next meeting. But we've had one very good conversation with them, and we'll be meeting with them again.
Great question. Anybody else? Mr. Van Martin.
Is there any update on Broad Street, north side of Broad Street, the East Sports Entertainment Complex and its timeline?
Yes. So Forge 417, as you know, Mr. Flanagan is moving along. We had just seen the initial preliminary plans of the interior. They've already fixed the roof, did a complete demo of the inside of that building. The next phase now is to submit the architectural design for the interior of that building and start to pull permits for the electrical, plumbing, and the HVAC. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will see that movement coming into the building department.
Anyone else?
Yeah. So I'm tired of seeing that what you run in every day on Facebook, Mr. Mayor.
Do you want that to get muddy? Is that what you're saying?
Well, at least have some spirit here. So every year we do a theme in the schools for our staff. This year it's a great day to be a pioneer. And if you call the schools, that should be what you hear first. But we had a bunch of different sayings on the back. And just to let you know how amazing you are. And Tony, I know, did you graduate from Elyria?
I'm the Emerald King, I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, the pioneers were here before the Titans. So there you go. Thank you very much.
All right, sounds good.
I do want to thank the college and their culinary arts program and the dessert program, Dr. Ballinger, Tracy Green, for having us here. Tony, thank you to the Lorraine County Chamber of Commerce, Sunrise Rotary, Elyria Rotary, for just having us here at Elyria City Schools. I would like to ask, because what we did this year, and I'm probably going over our time limit, that's okay, you guys paid to hear this. I asked our team to pick 2 or 3 people from the city that may not have had the opportunity to be in an event like this in the past. And I took it upon myself to invite our union presidents. But if you're a City of Elyria employee here today, and please don't be upset because we have a lot of things that other employees are taking care of. But if you're a City of Elyria employee, would you please stand and be recognized? Whether you're a councilman, elected official.
Now I got to do it for mine.
I know you do.
Elyria City Schools. Thank you.
And if you did not see all the flags on your way in, the college's 60th anniversary is this year, so congratulations to the college. And Dr. Ballinger will be the Grand Marshal of the Memorial Day Parade this year. So,
We should make her work the dogs.
Are you practicing yet, Marcia? There you go. Looking forward to it. I guess with that, I do want to give a shout out to Tammy and Christy. You guys were a little overwhelming today. We had a whole bunch of people, but thank you for everybody who came early. Thank you to Marcus and the staff here at the college. You made everything go off without a hitch, and we are getting you out of here 15 minutes early, so you get 15 minutes more of your day back. Thank you so much. We'll see you on May 15th at the Academic Center.